Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 46 of the Kevin Blekicki Show. Obviously, as always, I am your host, Kevin Blekicki. We do have an amazing show for you this week. We're going to be talking about the NFL playoffs. We're going to be talking about the college football playoffs. The national championship matchup has been set. And we are also going to talk about some Major League Baseball offseason news. But we have to start off with the major breaking news that happened this week of Mike Tomlin stepping down as Steelers head coach after 19 seasons. This is both somewhat surprising and not surprising at all. Mike Tomlin has been a great head coach in the NFL, one of the best. He's never had a losing season in his 19 seasons with the Steelers. He is a Super Bowl winning champion, a Super Bowl winning head coach, but that has happened quite some time ago. And he also has 7 consecutive playoff losses, which is tied with Marvin Lewis for the most in NFL history. And look, Mike Tomlin has led his team to the playoffs consistently the last 2 decades, but it's been a while since he's had a long sustained playoff run, and he is still desperately looking for a quarterback since the retiring of Ben Roethlisberger. So we thought that maybe they might have success last year with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Maybe they might find something there. It didn't end up working out. Aaron Rodgers for a year also didn't end up working out. So we'll see what ends up happening. Maybe he comes back to coaching in 2026 with a new team. Maybe he takes a year or two off and does TV or something. But if Mike Tomlin wants another job in the NFL, being a head coach, he's going to get a lot of calls from a lot of teams with head coaching vacancies. Now, the Jets aren't going to part ways with Aaron Glenn. I disagree with that decision. You have Mike Tomlin. You also have John Harbaugh, who's available. You have Kevin Stefanski, who's won NFL Coach of the Year. You also have Mike McCarthy, who's had success in the NFL as a head coach. Cliff Kingsbury, Brian Flores. I'm not really entertaining any sort of head coaches who are first-time head coaches. I want a veteran in that building, but you could go Clint Kubiak. He is an offensive mind. I want either an offensive mind or a veteran head coach, preferably someone who is both. But the Jets, of course, are not going to learn their lesson. They're going to let all of these great coaching candidates go to other teams and pray that Mike Tomlin is available next season and wants to coach the Jets, which right now doesn't even seem like a desirable job. Speaking of the Jets, their former quarterback Aaron Rodgers also potentially might have played his final game in the Monday night game against the Houston Texans. And this was kind of a shocking result because in my head, I was expecting the Steelers to win because Aaron Rodgers, got the last laugh, I guess you could say, because he got the Steelers to the playoffs after 2 years with the Jets, one of them being injured, the second one being a 5-12 season. So he did end up making the playoffs. He's looked pretty good this year. He looks like he can still sling it, but after the performance that he had on Monday night, I do think it is time for him to hang up the cleats. I mean, the Texans offense was pretty pitiful on Monday night, and they did score 30 points, but 2 of those were defensive touchdowns. This Texans offense turned the ball over 3 times, and it looked like they were begging the Steelers to win this game and put points up on the board, but they just couldn't against this stout Texans defense. And now they're going to play the Patriots. Spoiler alert, I'll talk about the other games on this docket. later on in the program. But the Patriots are going to have their hands full with this Texans defense. And that is the reason why they won this game, was because of the defensive effort that they put forth against the Steelers. We will now transition to the other games of the weekend. The first game was a really great game between the Rams and Panthers. Of course, the Panthers making a lot of waves, uh, in the discussion realm, because they made the playoffs as an 8-9 division champion. They got the 4 seed. They had the worst record of any playoff team in the NFC and in the entire playoffs. Yet they did get to host a playoff game in Carolina because they won their division. And I thought it was a great atmosphere. Cam Newton was there. He was banging the keep pounding drum. And it felt like the Panthers fans were really excited to see their team play in a home playoff game, the first one in 10 years. So I'm proud that they got that opportunity, and they played damn well against the Rams, and they were about to win the game if it wasn't for their defense absolutely selling. But Bryce Young played a really good game, and he is slowly but surely proving that he could be the guy in Carolina. You know, it's going to be a tough task replacing Cam Newton and the heights that he brought the Carolina Panthers to, bringing them to the Super Bowl. He will always be revered as one of the most popular players in Panthers history. But maybe Bryce Young is the guy that can bring the Panthers back to the Super Bowl. Then after that game, we had the Packers and Bears, the oldest rivalry in the NFL. Unfortunately, this game was on Amazon Prime, so we were subjected to the outdated voice of Al Michaels. I love him a lot. He's a legend, but it is time for him to hang it up. And this was, along, with the Eagles losing, this was probably my favorite result of the week, because Caleb Williams just makes so many people angry with the fact that he has, paint on his nails, that he's, as the children call, maybe zesty. I mean, it's dumb. A lot of the hatred from Caleb Williams stems from homophobia, and I don't even know if Caleb Williams is gay, and I don't really care because it's none of my business. And just I think that homophobia in the year of our Lord 2025 is just so stupid and outdated. Like, who gives a crap who you are involved with? It's no one's business. And for people to hate him for that, it just proves that we are not as far along as a country as we think that we are. I'd like to think that, we're more accepting of people of, different backgrounds and races and sexualities and uh, personality types. But I've seen with the way that people talk about Carl Anthony Towns that we are still a ways away from progress. But whatever the case is with Caleb Williams, he can absolutely ball. He got the job done. He made an amazing throw on 4th and 8 to keep the Bears season alive. He's brought them all the way to the number 2 seed. And next week they will be playing the Rams in the divisional round. So it was a great game, a great atmosphere. Again, Chicago has been looking for a deep playoff run for a while now, and it looks like they might get one, led by Caleb Williams. Then, talking about the games on Sunday, we had the Bills and Jaguars, and this was an unexpected great game. The Jaguars were not expected to be a great team this year. They only won 4 games all of last season. They bring in Liam Cohen, and he has a viral press conference where he says Duval Weird, which is the county that the Jaguars the county that Jacksonville is in. But you got to give Liam Cohen a lot of credit for what he has done with this football team. And they finished with a 13-4 record, as I mentioned, after being 4-13 a year ago. That is a 9-win turnaround in just one season. They played great. They had an opportunity to win the game at the end, but Trevor Lawrence did throw an interception to the Bills secondary. But the Jaguars should absolutely be thrilled with the way that they played this season. And this almost could have been the AFC South could have had 3 playoff teams between the Texans, the Jaguars, and the Colts if the Colts didn't absolutely nosedive after the Daniel Jones injury and lose 8 straight games to end the season. But the Bills move on, and this is going to be the true test of Buffalo. Are they going to be able to get the job done? As we know, no Chiefs, no Ravens in this playoffs. Their two biggest obstacles the last couple of seasons. Unfortunately, the one year that the Chiefs aren't in the playoffs, the Patriots have won the division. So they have to, probably go through them, either them or the Texans. But this next week, they have to play the Broncos on the road, which is going to be a tough task. But Denver has struggled with a lot of the lesser opponents this year, and they've played tight games against them. So it could be a winnable game for the Bills. Then we have the Eagles and 49ers. And anytime that the Eagles win, the Eagles lose, 40 and slip, America wins. The 49ers have had a lot of injuries this year. They win 23-19. And I knew that the Eagles were going to lose because there has been a lot of dysfunction surrounding that team, especially with A.J. Brown, complaining about not getting the ball. And then when he does get the ball, dropping the ball a lot. And Nick Sirianni has won a Super Bowl as a head coach, but I'm still honestly low-key not even that bought into him, if that makes sense. But the Eagles do have a lot of soul searching to do. They won the Super Bowl last year, so literally no one is upset that the Eagles got eliminated in the first round. Forever, they were known as one of the teams with no Super Bowl wins, and they've had 2 wins against really dynasties at that point. They beat the Patriots with Nick Foles, and then last year they absolutely destroyed Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, essentially ending their dynasty because they didn't make the playoffs this year. So they've had a lot of success, but they weren't able to get the job done on Sunday. And then to close things out, we had the Chargers and Patriots. And the Patriots won 16-3. And I just want to say that I'm not mentally prepared for the Patriots to be good again. They literally, as a Jets fan, they ruined my childhood. They were dominated. They dominated the Jets every time that they had, every opportunity that they had. They don't respect us. And I had to deal with Tom Brady just tormenting the AFC East my entire childhood and adolescence. And for them to have a dynasty, tank, be terrible, then draft Drake May, and then win the division again and have a chance to compete for a Super Bowl, all in the span of the Jets still not having made the playoffs since 2010, makes me sick. It absolutely makes me sick. I fear that Drake May and Mike Vrabel are the next Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I hope that's not true. I hope this is just kind of a splash in the pan and they're not this dynamic duo that will run roughshod on not just the AFC East, but the entire NFL for years to come. And for the Chargers, Justin Herbert, another year, another playoff loss. It's tough for him, and I want him to do well. I do like him. I like the way that he plays, but the results and the playoffs are what matters most. And he doesn't have any playoff success. So that's unfortunate for him. But we will be back with more of the Kevin Blekicki Show after these messages. We are back with more of the Kevin Blekicki Show, and we are going to pivot to college football. The playoff semifinals happened last week, and we have our national championship matchup for Monday, January 19th. In the Fiesta Bowl on Thursday, the 10 seed Miami Hurricanes knocked off the number 6 seed Ole Miss Rebels 31-27 and will be participating in the national championship and will have an opportunity to win a championship on their home field. And look, I was completely surprised with Miami. I overlooked them, and they have won my respect and my deepest apologies. I've been rooting for I've been watching Notre Dame football since I was a kid, since I was, a teenager, and I've seen a lot of disappointing seasons from Notre Dame, and seeing them miss out on the playoff by losing to a team by 3 points in week 1 and then losing again the next week and then winning their next 10 games and still missing the playoffs despite being ranked ahead of Miami consistently in the polls. It definitely hurt. It sucks, and it wasn't fun to be a fan of the team at that moment. And I thought that at the time of the final playoff rankings, that Notre Dame was a better team than Miami, despite them beating Notre Dame earlier in the season, and especially with that first game against Texas A&M, which is the worst college football playoff game that I have seen since the spawn of it like 10 years ago. Um, so I thought they were going to get smoked by Ohio State in the second round. They didn't do that. They won that game. And then I thought they were going to lose to Ole Miss. I wanted them to lose to Ole Miss because I wanted Lane Kiffin to uh, see his former team that he left to go to LSU win a national title. And, that didn't happen. But I still think that Lane Kiffin's going to end up regretting going to LSU. And you have to give a huge shout out to the Miami Hurricanes. Their defense has been great, led by Ruben Bain. If he comes out in the NFL draft this year, I would absolutely love to see the Jets either pick him up, maybe with the second pick, maybe that might be a little high, or with the 16th pick that they got from the Colts in the first round. But we also have to talk about the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, because that was between the 5th seed Oregon Ducks and the number 1 seed Indiana Hoosiers. And it's still crazy to say the number 1 seed Indiana Hoosiers. I still can't believe the job that Fernando Mendoza and Kurt Cignetti have done over there in Bloomington, Indiana. They're on one of the most incredible runs of any team I've ever seen. If they are able, they got the job done. And not only did they beat Oregon, they blew them out for the second time this year. They absolutely dog walks them 56-22. I mean, we see a lot of blowouts in the college football playoff, but that is just disrespectful. Putting up 56 points in a playoff game is crazy. And the absolute turnaround that Kurt Cignetti has done for this Indiana team the last couple of years is insane. They had 3 wins just a few short years ago, and they end up double-digit wins last year, making the playoffs, and then this year again going undefeated, and they have the chance to be the first team in college football history to ever go 16-0 in a single season, winning a national championship. I mean, I was doubtful of of Indiana. I thought that Ohio State was the best team in the country, even after losing to them in the Big Ten championship game. I thought that Ohio State was going to go on and win the national championship, but Kurt Signetti is just on another level right now. He's played 2 college football playoff games this season, murdered Alabama, and absolutely eviscerated Oregon. And this was another added layer to this game was Fernando Mendoza against Dante Moore. Fernando Mendoza is the consensus number 1 overall pick in this April's NFL draft. He's going to probably be going to the Raiders if they don't trade out of that pick, which I don't see them doing. And then it was likely that the number 2 pick would be Dante Moore going to the New York Jets. However, he made it official today at the time of this recording that Dante Moore will be returning to Oregon, and he will be the starting quarterback because Dylan Raiola, who transferred over from Nebraska, the Patrick Mahomes wannabe that a lot of people claim that he is, he'll be playing behind Dante Moore. And you know what? It is what it is. Um, I never really was a huge Dante Moore fan. And as a Jets fan, it is so hard to convince me that we're going to be we're going to be drafting our future quarterback who's going to lead us to all these wins and have a great career because I've just seen it all. We've drafted the high the quarterback with the early pick. We've traded up to get the guy that we thought that was the answer. And Mark Sanchez, to his credit, has taken us to levels that no other quarterback has taken us in 15 years. So you got to give a huge shout out to Mark Sanchez for that. Between guys like Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, you're seeing guys like, Geno Smith and Sam Darnold go other places and have success. The same thing with Aaron Rodgers. It is the Jets. They are the incompetent ones. So I can't even sit here and pretend to get excited, even though the Jets have 2 first-round picks this year, and they got good deals from the Colts for Sauce Gardner and the Cowboys for Quinnen Williams, but it's just hard for me to get excited, especially when we got Justin Fields this year and he was supposed to be the answer for us at quarterback. He's the one that Aaron Glenn wanted. He's the quarterback that he wanted, and we go out there and we start 0-7. And this was after firing Robert Saleh last year. And a lot of the same issues that happened with Robert Saleh have also happened under Aaron Glenn. I mean, what else is there to say at this point other than I don't care what the Jets do in the draft because I don't have any faith in their talent evaluation and the people that are in that organization to develop these young players properly. So I mean that's all there is to say about that. We will be transitioning over to baseball. Alex Bregman earlier this week signed a 5-year, $175 million contract with the Chicago Cubs. So the Cubs have made some big moves this offseason, and they land the star third baseman, another player that the Mets could have used but didn't end up signing. There seems to be a lot of that. And this is one of my favorite signings in recent memory because the Red Sox are so freaking incompetent. They had 2 all-star level third baseman a year ago, and now they don't have either. I will now break down this conundrum that they are in because it's very funny to me. I'm not really in a position to talk about other teams' failures as a Mets fan, but I just find this story hilarious. So basically, what ended up happening was Rafael Devers wanted to play third base for the Red Sox, and their team, their management was like, "We don't want you to play third base. We want you to play first base." And Rafael Devers didn't want that. So he requested a trade. He ended up going to the Giants. What position did he play at the Giants? First base. He played first base. He said that he didn't want to play first base, and then he got traded to another team and ended up playing first base and DH. So that was pretty funny. That was a funny time. And at that time, so that means that Alex Bregman was the Red Sox third baseman last year. And now, as I just mentioned, he's no longer a member of the Red Sox. He's on the Chicago Cubs now. So they traded away Rafael Devers, one of their best hitters in the past couple of years. They traded him away because he didn't want to be a first baseman or a DH, and he ended up being a first baseman and DH on the Giants. And now they just got rid of Alex Bregman. And up until at the time of this recording, the Red Sox had not signed anyone until they signed Ranger Suarez today. That was their first signing of the offseason, and we're in mid-January. So, I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on in Red Sox land, but they got to figure things out over there. And we will finish this show talking about the Mets. I mean, at this point, I'm very dejected with them. I don't really have any faith in this current regime and what they're doing. After what they've done so far this offseason, it is very hard for me to really care about guys that they're being linked to in the future because they've gotten rid of pretty much all of their good players. And they already missed the playoffs last year. And with this being probably the last season without a salary cap before the impending lockout at the end of the season, this is the last time that we will get Steve Cohen the ability most likely to just put his money on the table and just sign whatever free agent that he wants and eventually have money be the last, get the last laugh. And even if a player doesn't want to play for the Mets, he'll end up signing because he gets so much money. And so the Mets have been linked to Kyle Tucker somewhere in the $120 to $150 million range over a couple of seasons. And, that would be great. That would be great if the Mets were able to get Kyle Tucker. It would also be great if they could get Cody Bellinger because they need a center fielder and a left fielder. They also need a first baseman. They also need a third baseman. They could have used Alex Bregman. They didn't sign him. And the thing is that they didn't have some of these holes coming into the offseason. They didn't have a need at first base. They created it by letting Pete Alonso walk to the Orioles. They didn't have a hole at in left field. Brandon Nimmo, despite declining defensively, has had consistently improved his offensive numbers. They trade him away to the Rangers for Marcus Semien. They also let Edwin Diaz walk. I never in my, you could make the argument, Pete Alonso's getting older. He's going to have to be a DH. There's going to be an issue with him and Juan Soto in a few years when they're both going to have to be DHs. There was never an issue with Edwin Diaz. There was no reason why they needed to get rid of him, and they decided to get rid of him. We have Devin Williams, which is the Timu version of Edwin Diaz. He's also coming off the worst season of his career, so I would be a lot more excited for Kyle Tucker and other free agents coming to the Mets if they hadn't literally gotten rid of like most of the good players that they had last season. But that does it for this edition of the Kevin Blekicki Show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to follow me on social media, follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at Kevin Blekicki. And I will see you again next week.